Broncos fans, it's tough. There's no doubt about it. But hey, it could be worse. You could be a Washington football team fan who has no team name. They've got people dancing on the number of their most decorated player in franchise history. And all they need to do is just find a new scandal to bury after the last one, because that's what they do best over in Landover. So, could be worse. Go ahead and subscribe right now. Hopefully we can get our subscribe numbers up so we can get you guys more Broncos videos. Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. We got a couple things to run through on today's show, but first, just want to touch base on the latest Von Miller injury news. Went down in Week 7 on Thursday Night Football last night, if you're joining us today, and did not return to the game. Didn't look all that serious, but ultimately it was just out of precaution. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN has this to say. Source says Von Miller's x-ray came back clean, not returning to the game out of caution, so it appears no structural damage for him. That's a great sight, especially because Von Miller missed all of last season with an ankle injury. So hopefully he is good to go. Has a week and change to get ready for Week 8 against Washington at home. But that's the latest Von Miller injury news coming out of Thursday Night Football. Let's get into the heart and the meat and the potatoes of today's video. Week 7, overreactions. Sorta. No, really. Actually, they're really underreactions at this point, because the things I'm going to go through are not overreactions, honestly. They're things that should be happening. If I was a GM, I'd probably be looking into it, but the closest I get to being a GM is just rewatching Moneyball and feeling like one. So, first one on the list. Fire Vic Fangio. I made a video about this a couple weeks ago. I'm a big believer in don't call for another man's job. No one wants to hear anyone get fired. That's sad. No one likes that. But at a certain point, when you're 15-24 overall through 2.5 seasons in Denver, something isn't working. He came in as a defensive-minded guy, had a long history of being a defensive coordinator in Chicago and San Francisco most recently. But we're not seeing the defense that we saw with the Bears and the 49ers when he was there. And now, granted, he's had a lot of bad injuries, and that's unfortunate. He's yet to have a true quarterback. Drew Lock gets hurt. Teddy Bridgewater's banged up. Loses Von Miller. Loses Bradley Chubb. Loses Cortland Sutton. I can keep going on. But at a certain point, the injury thing, it only takes you so far. You played a Browns team last night that was more injured. Somehow they found a way to be more injured than the Broncos, and you found a way to lose. That's not going to get too much. I'm sorry, but the injury excuse, people just aren't going to accept it after 3 years. They're going to look for some sort of adapting and overcoming obstacles and adversity, not just leaning into it going, oh shit, we'll just give it another year. Try again next year, I guess. And that's why I think last night felt like the last straw for Vic Fangio. You came in on a 3-game losing streak after winning the first 3 games, still in the playoff picture. You win that game, you're 4-3. You got to 4-3 in a very bizarre fashion, but you're still very much alive. Maybe you get healthy, get Bridgewater up to 100%, kind of a mini bye week, get some pieces back. But no, the Broncos just fell flat on their face. It was not a 3-point game. It looked way more like a 30-point game than a 3-point game at times. They struggled to move the ball all first half offensively. And the defense limited Case Keenum, a backup quarterback, and a third-string running back to 17 points. Good, but just didn't show a lot of, game-changing plays or abilities or getting a fan off their couch and on their feet because of a big play. I just missed that. So while my rant ends here, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Should the Broncos fire Fangio after the season? Y for yes, N for no. I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video. And if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, scroll on down during the break and reply, then come back and join the fun. Not a lot of fun right now for Teddy Bridgewater, which maybe means Drew Lock should get a shot. How bad does it have to get before you at least consider him, okay? Bridgewater, I was all over him. I mean, I was in love with the first 3 weeks of Teddy B. The last 4, not so much. And a lot of it has to be because of the injuries he has sustained. Concussion, foot, hammy, quad. I mean, felt like everything at some point, and they're legitimate excuses. He had no power in his foot, off his back foot, throwing against the Browns last night, and it was very evident when he just threw up a duck of an interception in the end zone, way underthrown. The drop-offs there from completion percentage, yards, rating, 5 interceptions compared to 0 out of the gates. The numbers have quickly turned around for Bridgewater, so that's why I'm wondering, is it lock time? Can it get worse? At least you know one thing with Drew Lock, he's healthy, and you don't have that with Bridgewater, and you see what unhealthy Bridgewater looks like. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, those guys can play through injuries. I don't know if Bridgewater can really do that. So how bad is it with Locke? Here are the numbers through his career. Sure, there's a reason why he got kind of benched for Teddy Bridgewater, why they made a trade to bring in competition. But I am kind of believing, can it be much worse? The only thing that kind of makes me scratch my head is, how bad is it in practice? There has to be something in practice that leads the coaching staff to have very little faith in Drew Lock in the games. I would love to know, is he just a bust in practice and is not putting up good results? Whatever it is, pick a starter for me. Teddy Bridgewater, even when he's healthy or when he's unhealthy, or a healthy Drew Lock. Type DB or DL down in the comments section for me. Bridgewater, I think, is the better quarterback, but is he better at this stage right now with his health? That's a big question. That's the one I want answered going into Week 8 against Washington. Personally, I got Lock. Unless Teddy finds a foot donor or someone that can help him get his swagger and get his boost back, I got to see what Lock has, because I know what we've seen out of Bridgewater the last couple games hurt, and it's a couple fourth quarter pushes, too little, too late. But the first half, you fall behind so quickly. This is not a Broncos offense that can play from behind. They just don't have those weapons to play catch up. So why not see what Drew Lock has to offer? Broncos fans, if you have not already, be sure to go check out BetUS. They give you a great deal with a 125% deposit bonus when all you got to do is go to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code Broncos125. I bet on the game last night. I took the under. That was easy money in my opinion. Also took over 4.5 receptions for Noah Fant. That cashed in. He was targeted a lot lately, so I figured, why not get him 5? And he got 5. Called him before the game. He was like, yeah, I'll get you your money. I'll get you your plus 125 off my $5 bet, so I can retire right now. And you can do that too. Maybe, maybe not. Check them out, BetUS. Use that promo code in the link for the 125% deposit bonus. Next up here on the Fallout Part 3, start making trades. I think there's some disbelief in the Broncos fan base maybe, or just the media, that this team is still very much contending. They're not, okay? This team is not. It's plain and simple. Last week, all the beat reporters were saying if the playoffs ended today, the Broncos would actually be in the playoffs as the 7th seed. Well, they don't end after 6 weeks, and this Broncos team is not going to the playoffs. As it stands right now, I just don't see a way they can start rattling off wins with how out of games they've looked. So I got 4 trade candidates. I've put them in order from most likely on the left to least likely on the right. Melvin Gordon has looked good this year. Plenty of teams who are banged up at running back would love to get a serviceable veteran who can come in and, kind of like C.J. Anderson did for the Rams a couple years ago when they went on their Super Bowl run. I think Melvin Gordon could do that. And, of course, he's on the Broncos too, like Anderson. Kyle Fuller is the easy one. If someone wants him, the Broncos will take him. The issue is he's got a bit of a price tag, and he is not a sexy alternative for any team right now. But I do believe there are some GMs out there that think they can rectify Kyle Fuller and get him back to his all-pro status. You're not going to get much for him. Tim Patrick, I don't want to see him go. I really don't. I think he's a fun and important part of this offense for years to come. But I do know that he's on the last year of his contract, and the targets just haven't been there lately. So if someone wants to wow me or wow Peyton with a good offer and a good draft pick, I'd have to at least pick up the phone and consider it. And finally, the toughest one, Von Miller. Hopefully a lifelong Bronco, but he is in the last year of his contract. We're halfway through the season almost, and he's going to give you the most return of any of these 3 guys, but that's going to be the toughest goodbye to do, and that's really tough for George Paton. Early in his GM career, to trade away a franchise cornerstone like Von Miller, it's not going to make you a very popular guy in Denver. So those are my 4 trade candidates. Let me know, though, overall, Should the Broncos be sellers? Type S for sellers or H for hold. You're 3-4. You've lost 4 in a row. I think you have to be sellers. Sellers, sellers, and sellers. You're not buying, that's for sure. And so then the idea of holding on to players is just Vic Fangio trying to keep talent in the building so his team can try and get some more wins so he doesn't get fired. That's not the best look for the Broncos looking forward. You got a lot of players on that list that are in the final year of their contract, all of them in the final year of their contract. Why not give it a shot? Why not look and see what you can get for them at least and just explore that route? That's why I'm selling. Let me know what you're thinking in the comment section.